the most powerful storms to ever hit the U.S. is still slamming Louisiana's coast tonight. Hurricane Ida knocked out power to the entire city of New Orleans. The only electricity right now is coming from generators. The utility company says in that city, the storm caused catastrophic transmission damage. The city's water, sewer, and drainage systems are close to collapsing. The winds are so strong they have torn roofs off of buildings. In New Orleans, the scraps of one roof are now blocking streets. So much of this mirrors what we saw 16 years ago to the day when Hurricane Katrina made landfall. Storm surge and heavy rains are straining hurricane defenses that were reinforced after that storm. Hospitals in Louisiana were already packed because of a huge COVID surge. The state's governor says evacuating large hospitals isn't an option. There's nowhere else with room for these patients. Ida has weakened now to a Category 3, but the danger is not close to over. Kathy's been tracking the storm throughout the evening, and it's got the potential to do a whole lot more damage, Kathy.
It does. No longer considered a major hurricane at this point, but still creating catastrophic damage with a deadly storm surge that came in at 10 to 20 feet. We've had 10 to 15 inches of rain, tornadoes touching down around the area. The outer bands still creating heavy rain. The system now downgraded to a Category 2 storm with winds to 105. It's near the Baton Rouge area. It's moving inland, taking with it all of that fuel from the waters of the Gulf, which are close to 90 degrees. As it moves inland, the outer bands producing thunderstorms that have rotation. Heavy bands of rain will push in overnight, and we are looking at catastrophic flooding, destructive wind damage across about 7 states overnight tonight and tomorrow. Now a Category 2 storm. It will weaken more as it moves inland, but will continue to produce that heavy flooding rainfall, and we're going to continue to see the effects of this storm probably for weeks to come across Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. Back here in Colorado, a little smoke, a little haze, a cooler day with just isolated thunderstorm. Temperatures are very comfortable as we move through the overnight time period. And coming up in Maine weather, any thunderstorms still left over, we'll show you those on the radar. We've got a warmer day Monday, headed into record territory in terms of high temperatures this week. And then we'll talk about that smoke and haze and when we see relief, Jenny.
We'll check back in soon, Kathy. Thank you. As the hurricane batters Louisiana, help is arriving from hundreds of miles away. A dozen volunteers from Colorado and Wyoming are already in the area, ready to work with the Red Cross. They tell 9 News reporter Mark Salinger they are prepared for the worst.
On a warm, quiet day in Denver,
every deployment and every disaster changes you a little bit.
The call to help took volunteers somewhere far different.
We've been told to expect the eye of the storm to come directly over Baton Rouge.
As Hurricane Ida slams into Louisiana, volunteers from the Colorado and Wyoming Red Cross are in the path of the storm, prepared for whatever comes next.
We're ready to go.
Andrea Carlson is one of those volunteers. When everyone else is getting out, she's flying in.
Yesterday when we got off the plane, it was a parking lot on the interstates of people leaving town and going towards Texas.
For now, the dozen volunteers deployed from Colorado and Wyoming will focus on sheltering evacuees. After the storm passes, they'll deploy to the hardest hit towns and neighborhoods, with more volunteers coming soon.
We'll see what happens when the sun comes up tomorrow and see where we need to get in and start providing services to communities that were impacted the most.
If a Category 4 hurricane wasn't enough to contend with, volunteers are deploying to an area with one of the worst COVID situations in the country. Some volunteers are now helping virtually, providing things like mental health services over video chat instead of being there in person.
This allows individuals who still are very nervous about leaving their homes or getting out in public to still provide support and services to those individuals who need it most and to be part of our mission.
The Red Cross says it's also adjusted how it shelters evacuees because of COVID. They now put families in pods in the evacuation centers instead of huge rooms full of cots right next to each other. Jenny, kind of like we're used to seeing in all those pictures.
We're so used to seeing when Red Cross deploys, not just how they handle the logistics of helping people during a storm, but the comforting aspect as well. And I'm just really curious how they can do this job in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah,
it has to be so hard.
Exactly. So much of what these volunteers do is just showing humanity, giving a hug to someone on one of their worst days. And now that's really tough. They aren't hugging people because of COVID. Everybody's wearing a mask. You can't see somebody's face eye to eye, see their smile with a mask on. So that's another challenge that they're contending with in the middle of so many other challenges.
Of all the things they're doing right now to be helpful, a hug cannot be undervalued.
Exactly.
Overvalued. All right, Mark, thank you so much for your reporting. Firefighters in Grand County are dealing with a new wildfire tonight. It is burning on Black Mountain, northeast of KREMMLING. It's just west of where the East Troublesome fire burned last year. The sheriff's office is telling people in areas north and northwest of Parshall to get ready to start to evacuate. The fire is burning in a pretty remote area. Firefighters called in a helicopter to help this afternoon. You can see a lot of dead trees in the pictures. So far, it's burned 120 acres. It's one of several fires, fortunately small ones, burning across Colorado right now. In Morgan County, a fire that burned this weekend outside of Wiggins is now out. Firefighters in Mesa County are making progress on a small fire about 10 miles north of Grand Junction. And in Rio Blanco County, the sheriff's office says it's having trouble getting enough firefighters to help deal with a small fire southeast of Rangeley. The West just has too many fires burning right now. Northern California's CALDOR fire is the highest priority fire in the country right now. It's getting closer and closer to Lake Tahoe and the towns around it. In the last 2 hours, the flames made it to Sierra at Tahoe, a big ski resort south of the lake. There's not much firefighters can do at this point to slow it down. The Defense Department says a U.S. drone strike in Kabul today blew up a truck filled with explosives, and the military believes the bombs were meant for the Kabul airport. Afghans say the drone strike also killed some civilians, including children, and the military is now investigating that. Today, President Biden joined the families of the service members who died in the attack last week as their remains came home, back to the U.S. 13 flag-draped caskets were flown to Dover Air Force Base in Delaware. They were carried out and returned to families in a ceremony this morning. Tuesday is President Biden's deadline to finish pulling troops out of Afghanistan. The military is starting to focus now on evacuating troops. The State Department says about 250 Americans are still trying to get out of that country, and there are thousands more Afghans worried that they will be left behind. A couple from Broomfield feels incredibly lucky after the husband's interpreter made it out of Kabul safely. We told you about his story last week, while that interpreter and his family were hiding from the Taliban. 9 News reporter Kelly Rinke spoke to them as they anxiously wait to call Colorado home.
This is Titan.
Yeah, that's why I killed Sis.
Scott and Heidi Henkel prayed for this call, a moment that didn't seem possible a week ago.
Of all the missions we've been on, you executed the most important one flawlessly. So congratulations, and I'm so proud of you.
Ahmad Siddiqui was Scott's interpreter while he served in the U.S. Army in Afghanistan. The latest mission to get Siddiqui out of Kabul meant life or death. These are pictures he took in Kabul as the Taliban went door to door, trying to find interpreters like him. He wasn't safe. Neither were his wife and 4 kids.
Humanity has a level. There's no level with Taliban.
The journey to the airport was too dangerous until he got some help from a U.S. Marine.
And once we crossed that fence, I was thinking like the whole world was moved from my shoulders.
They flew out of Kabul to Qatar just days before the attack outside the airport. Siddiqui says it happened at the same gate where he found that Marine.
And I pray more that that soldier who grabbed my phone is still living and he would live long and long and long.
Siddiqui feels grateful to be alive and safe with family in Italy, a step closer to reuniting with the Henkels in Colorado.
I was faking the keep your chin up, we can do this, because in the back of my mind, I had kind of already resigned myself to know that my friend's going to die.
He feels very thankful and relieved. But also he knows that those who are still left behind are also worried about that as well.
We feel extraordinarily blessed to be one of the few and one of the lottery winners.
This impossible mission could feel complete soon when they get to say hello in person rather than over a phone.
Because you are family to us.
Thank you, sister. Thank you. I know.
And Siddiqui says he was very proud to be a part of the effort to rebuild his country, but it's also very disheartening for him to see all of that work vanish in just a month. And the Henkels, Jenny, also say that this could be a tremendous opportunity for Colorado to really greet refugees, understanding that the Henkels believe that they're going to be such a great asset to our community as well.
So this Afghan family, first of all, had to get back together, right? Because Dad was hiding from Taliban while the rest of the family
They were
was together.
separated because he was afraid that if the Taliban found him, then it would hurt the family.
And then they get to their first big step, which is out of Afghanistan. They're in Italy. Any idea on when they could get to Colorado?
You know, that's the end goal. They're really hoping that they can get to Colorado, but, you know, it's kind of up in the air. They're not quite sure what that timeline is, so it's kind of just wait and see.
Okay, but huge progress made this week.
Absolutely.
Kelly, thank you for your reporting.
Thank you.
The body of a 5-year-old boy has been found near Fraser. Investigators in Texas believe the boy's mom and her boyfriend threw his body into a ravine after he died from abuse. A warrant says Nicole Christina Aguilar told investigators that her son died last month. They'd been staying in a hotel in San Antonio with her boyfriend. Aguilar told police her boyfriend threw the boy against a wall and he died the next day. They drove from Texas to a spot near Rocky Mountain National Park, and that is where they say they dumped the boy's body. Aguilar later confessed this to her mother, who then called police. Aguilar and her boyfriend were arrested in Florida yesterday. Before her arrest, investigators say Aguilar helped them find her son's body.